Simple fact of the matter is you know what you should be doing. You know how you will get this content. I do not care who your employer is, public, private, big or small. You can impress them with questions that you extract from the Globe and Mail. The Globe and Mail, a newspaper. Look, you don't have to touch it. I know you don't like touching paper anymore because the ink, you have a skin rash or something. You so seldom touch paper anymore. It does give you a skin rash. Well, fine. Access it digitally. But do you want to be a player? Do you want to be a player? Then do you want to be important? Do you actually want to have a career where people think you're important? Well, you know, here's a secret. Why don't you read the only publication in the country that is explicitly edited for important people? And it does mean when you have a conversation at the workplace, you can say it. And if you're just in the beginning a little uneasy about, you know, I don't want to embarrass myself, I don't want to be presumptuous, I don't want to, you know, step out of bounds, you say, well, I was reading in the Globe and Mail that X, Y, Z, and I don't quite understand how it's going to affect the organization. Someone's going to fire you for having you read the Globe and Mail? I don't think so. Did you really read in the Globe, says the boss. Yes, he hasn't read it. What did it say, he says. And now you have dialogue. Now you have dialogue. So in due course, I hope, you engage in dialogue, you ask questions, you sound like a person with ideas, more than one. You signal interest in the organization by asking these questions. You signal interest in the technology or the cost structure or the customers by doing this. And then, of course, you think of something you might be able to do, right? Part of this is, as you move into, say, the middle of your term, that's why you start the day after you get there, not like 2 days before you're ready to finish. So you've softened up the ground. You've signaled to people around you that you have ideas, that you ask intelligent questions that go beyond the narrow requirements of the workplace. And then you work on solutions. You don't even have to present the solution as even finished. Sometimes you can ask for consent to help to solve the problem. You've identified a problem. You've already discussed with the employer that it is a problem. Employer says, yeah, this is a constant problem. Our deliveries are always like late and people are complaining. Part of the next thing to do is say, well, would it be okay if I tried to look at how we could fix this delivery problem? Often they will say yes, because you're volunteering to do extra work. I'm your boss. Don't you dare do extra work and earn more. Oh, okay, yes, do extra work. Well, can you imagine someone stopping you from doing extra work? And if they do, and if you hear your employer say, or your supervisor say, look, your job is to get your work done, stop asking so many questions. Remember, you're auditioning them as much as they're auditioning you. And you'll keep in mind that when you ask questions, you are told to be quiet. And that might cause you to make a decision for your next employer, don't you think? But most of the time you'll get a decent response. Most of the time, if you ask to work on this extra problem, often they will say yes. And if you already found the solution, you will then carefully advance it. I mean, we have some other guidance for you in the course to help you, prepare these kinds of communications. Of course they're professional. Of course you research them. Of course, in this case, if you're offering a solution, you'll ask for an appointment time. This is a formal thing you're going to do, so you prepare for it carefully. It can still have elements where you're asking the boss's guidance. I think the solution is here. Does this make sense to you? Rather than, here's the answer. I looked at the problem. We said it was a problem. Here's my answer to the problem. Any fool could see this was the right thing to do. You want to communicate that tone? Any fool could see it was the right thing to do. Yeah, right. There is a fool in the room, and it's the person I'm looking at who communicates such an arrogant tone. I wouldn't take that arrogant tone from a 45-year-old, never mind someone who's 21 or younger. So of course, you do it in a respectful tone. You do it in the tone that, okay, boss person, can we work together on this solution? So you're not offering a sort of done deal, finished, fixed. Here's my brilliant answer. Please let us implement it and promote me. That's ridiculous. But it doesn't mean you're too shy to offer the solution or part of the solution and explain why you think it's a problem. First, why you think the solution will work. You've already worked on that there's a problem in your earlier conversations with your employer, should you not? And if you do this right, if you do this as a process, that final step of making the suggestion or asking to look to work on the problem will seem smooth, will seem like the logical thing to do. And the boss will think, okay, well, that's logical, go ahead. Because you have built this relationship. You've built up the dialogue. You've been communicating continuously. Communication are not one of sudden magnificent presentations, not in the workplace anyway. Well, maybe in the lecture theater, but the lecture theater is not the workplace. So don't have a ridiculously arrogant tone. On the other hand, don't do it this way. I must now speak to the female persons. I do not know whether I should say now ladies, in case you don't like the word ladies, although I don't know what else word to actually be using because I'm an old guy. So persons who are women, I am going to single you out and make a comment. Because I sit in meetings with women somewhat older than you. And I fear you might make the mistake, but some of them do. Of course they identify ideas, of course. They see opportunities. And I've sat in meetings where a woman has advanced a solution. She's identified the problem on her initiative. On her initiative, she's generated a solution. The team she's presenting to agrees that this is a problem and seems to a viable solution. And then the male member of the team is appointed to implement it. Now, sometimes that happens, and I've seen it more than once. Sometimes it happens because the person who is appointed to the implementation, who happens to be a male, it is accidental, because the male has depth of experience in implementing these kinds of solutions. So it is actually an organizationally effective decision and is appropriate. And sometimes it is inappropriate, because the male is assumed to be the better implementer. But sometimes it is the fault of the proponent. So if males occasionally go over the top arrogant, males work on arrogance. I don't know, it comes with the gender orientation. Unfortunately, I've also been in a meeting where the woman presented the idea to the team of both other men and women, and did so too unassertively. So you're looking for the right balance. Confidence that you have identified a good solution, confidence that you've got argument for its implementation, confidence that you can justify why it's a problem, not on the tone that I have all the answers, but also not under the tone that, well, maybe possibly we could sort of try this, it might work. Because that man or woman is going to doom the thing, one or the other. Because if someone else thinks it's a good idea, they'll take it from you and implement it, or it doesn't get implemented at all. Serious matters, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about things that can define your career. I have to say, even though I know you don't want me to say it, a single act of communication can launch your career into a spectacular new direction. Our job here is to help you not have to fix things that go wrong, to increase the odds that you can do effective communication, advance your career directly. So what you do, you practice. You start talking about problems. You ask intelligent questions. You talk about things other beyond the narrow dictates of the job. You do your homework. You do research. You make sure that when you're talking about things initially, you have your facts right. And when you're ready to advance a solution, you do it appropriately as a let's work on this together and implement this new idea to solve the problem. That's how you can dramatically improve your career.